Want my bitch and now she acting like a break. Yeah. I make Alice, I know Jimmy, he got racks. Yeah. Bitch, I'm bleeding like a tank. Roll it, put me on your back. Just for show my diamond, y'all look like a tag. I'm a cat, I'ma take all them pussy racks. This a nigga band, I look back. Or else I'm killing them. Yeah, that's a fact. She blood all over my timber. She make a nigga say, what? I swear to God, she feeling them. She suck like 8 dicks, I call her. I took her on. Hey! First you get that money, then you get that power. If he tuned in, knows up, but he on that powder. Now you walk around with 50 in your trousers. Diamonds bullying on my chest, no fucking blouse. Bitch, I make it rain, shower. You did that. Ain't want no thing about you if you still that. Hit him with that blocker, nigga, get back. Be that bitch that never crack, get that. Bitch, I dig it. I eat ice cream with my chicken. Rich nigga. Bitch, I'm rich just like a Simmons, not Lil Diggy. Real Simmons. If I got legs, bitch, you know I'm gonna get it. She got good head, so she welcome to my business. Big Benny, that big Benny. Run around with the Simmons, girl, I know these niggas hear me. Is you mad by Instagram or how I keep my pimp? Chain, you keep that ace of spade, I'm sipping. I'm a rocket, I can't stop it. I'm a GTV, boy, bitch, I'm poppin'. I need coke, like where the fuck is poppin'? If you try to run off, you know we popped your night. First you get that money, then you get that power. If he tuned in, knows up, but he on that powder. Now you walk around with 50 in your trousers.
Good morning, people. Welcome to Maddox by Stock Market Report. This is Black Business Wall Street. EBW. Good morning. As we see, the market opens in 20 minutes. As thus far, it's saying that the market is in the green. I'm not for sure. We're going to see what's going on. A lot of politics is playing a factor in this market today. And also, the market will be closed Monday due to Memorial Day, for the Memorial Day weekend or Memorial Day. So I'm not for sure what I'm going to do. As of now, let me take you here. I woke up with $242 that was settled cash. So what I did was went in and purchased Honeywell at this price, because I'm thinking Honeywell may soar today, and I mean like soar probably like $1, because Honeywell to me doesn't have a rigorous growth, so it's more of a slow growth. So I'm getting Honeywell as a long-term investment, and I was doing research, and Honeywell is coming up with different things for aerospace, for the planes, like the ultraviolet machines once you get on the buses, especially like New York, and what they're doing in New York. Like, to me, I think that's the future, especially for things like that. So when I see something like that, I want to invest in that, because for one, it's something that's unheard of, and it's like you can't, I mean, the paradox of this, I mean, okay, so the paradox is I'm investing in my own self-interest with this one, because Honeywell, I mean, I use public transportation, I fly a lot, so when things like this, it comes to me investing in my self-interest, and Honeywell is one of those companies that I feel I'm investing in my self-interest, just like Dropbox. I'm thinking about investing in Dropbox as well, but I'm not for sure. So and so, and this is my first account, so I had $242 that was settled in this account. I had $152 to settle, so I think I had like $369 all together this morning. And I think like Friday, I told you I had like 800. Saturday, I had like 500. Um, Yesterday, I think I had 300. And well, yesterday I had a total of 600 because I was buying a lot of stuff yesterday. And today I have a total of 369. So I'm not for sure what I'm gonna do today. So that's why I just went on and put in a limit order for. I did my limit order for Honeywell at this price that it closed at, because I don't think Honeywell is going to drop this morning. I think what Honeywell is going to do is take off from where it's at and soar. Let me put it on Honeywell. Okay, so I'm listening to Pandora. As you all know, Pandora is my cocaine. Like, I don't do things, but this is what keeps me crunk. This is what keeps me going, because in the stock market, trust me, I see what motherfuckers on that thing. Like, it's serious. Like, we're doing a lot of research and things like this, so I have to have something to transform me into a crunk mode or elevated mode, and Pandora is the best. Pandora is my choice, so that's all y'all need to know. So let's just take a moment to look at Honeywell here. And we're listening to Rich Homie Corn radio station for now. So it says right here, upgrade. When was this? Yesterday at 9 o'clock, Honeywell upgrade securities from hold to buy. Looking at Honeywell yesterday. So I just started doing research and I looked at Honeywell. So Honeywell target price is 158, so from 138. So it's saying here, Honeywell said Wednesday is launching solutions to help building owners improve the health conditions of their buildings to comply. So I'm thinking where they're talking about certain things. No way, bitch. No way, bitch. Okay, I'm never living life confined. It's a failure, even if I'm blind. I can tell you who, what, when, where, how to sell your game right on time. Bitch, go play. Bitch, go play. Bitch, go play. Bitch, I look like OJ killing everything from pussy to a motherfucking hit boy bitch. She pussy popping, then I got options like an auto I beat. COMPTON, I win, then ball at your defeat. COMPTON. Okay, so what I'm looking for is not on here. Let's just go here for a minute and research Honeywell. See, I'm telling you, my channel is about research and things of this nature, so let it run, Ali. Martin had a dream. Martin had a dream. Kendrick have a dream.
Admit it. You're ready to tap that banner, take the quiz, and find out which decade best matches your team to life. And
is a phenomenal resource tool as well. Or was it NASDAQ? Here, let me see. I think it was NASDAQ. Let me just go. Actually, it was, because it's still here. And I thought about buying here, but it was on NASDAQ. But I'm not going to waste too much time. But sometime into today, before today over, I'm going to find that article and show it to you all. But Honeywell is doing something like magnificent, especially when it coming to those UV-ray lights that's on the bus in New York. And also they want to put like these temperature things that's on the plane. It can detect if you have a fever. It can detect your health. So I'm telling you, Honeywell would be a great long-term investment. I'm not saying short-term, but a long-term investment. Honeywell, you need me. I'm looking for a career. I'm telling you, like, that's the company to work for. I need as you see, I'm kind of up today, $53. I'm not for sure how this is going to play out today or what I'm going to be able to hold. Let's just look at the account. So you all, actually, I do want to put this out here. Like, I started probably with like $1,200 and I have worked my way up to $2,300, even though probably put a little money here there, but technically this is all from my growth. This is not actually all my money, bottom line. This is from my actual growth from doing this. And I want to say I probably made a profit of $800 or more. So let's just look at this. Oh, you know what, ACB, I want to find some more marijuana stock to invest in, but I didn't invest in Aurora. I kept my profit. So let me show you what I want to do, because the market opened in 20 minutes. So something is telling me to cop Aurora at 15 bucks. So, but I think the market is going to short today. I'm in your city and I'm wondering if you're home now. Went and found a man, but I'm hoping you alone now. Can't help but feeling like I dropped the ball, cliche. I used to pop up on you at the mall each day. Now typically I kick game like East Bay, but you got a nigga freeze frame yelling please play. For Pete's sake, homie, pull it together. Just fuck up one time and be through it. Okay, the bid and act size is not. So let me do stop loss. So I'm telling me the limit order, I'm gonna do price of 15 bucks. So I think that this is what I actually sold it at. So if I can go back and get it at 15 bucks, I'm just picking up where I left off, even making a $50 profit. But someone's telling me to sell Aurora when my account jumped to $125 that day. But I was like, no. So I'm not gonna play with Aurora. So you're going to see ACB on my account until it drops to $15. So I just put 2 shares, like $30 aside. Let me show you, because once I go to my trade, it'll show that I'm committed to these trade deals, and that money is already allocated for that. So you see I have $137.69 that's allocated for Honeywell. So when the market opens, I'm expecting to buy Honeywell at the price that it closed at. So I mean, I don't think Honeywell is going to drop today. I don't know. I didn't even look at the graph yesterday. So this is just me going off the dome, my intuition. So I'm not for sure on that one. Again, I'm not a stockbroker. I'm not a financial advisor. I just do this for fun. You know what I'm saying? Like, me as a business consultant, I like to invest in myself. So with my money that they gave me, I decided to invest in myself. And what best thing for us to invest in this stock right now, when basically it was an unforeseen issue that caused this market to drop. It wasn't like the same pattern that normally happens. So this was something that was totally unorthodox. And when you find a situation outside the norm like this is your time to jump in, and it's everybody's time to jump in, especially when we have abundance of excess money that we can use right now to help us invest in certain different products or services. And if you look at yourself, you are a product, you are a service, you are an entity. Your social security number is an entity. Trust me. So do what you need to do for self-interest. That's all me. And normally people, that's why I don't get in depth on my channel, because people pay me for this shit. So I'm not trying to give out shit for free that people normally pay me for. Trust me. So it's like I'm not trying to kill my clientele. giving out advice that people normally pay me for. So I just want my channel to come here. I want to be able to show you the steps and tools that you need to do to help you to invest in self-interest. And if you truly know me, you know, and one thing I hate to say that I'm a smart individual, and I don't use the word hate often, but I know who I am, but you don't know me, but people who know me can attest to what I'm saying. Like, yeah, that lady there, she's smart as hell. She know her shit. And if I don't know it, I'm not gonna make shit up, or I may, you know, go back and find out and do more research and do my due diligence. And if you truly know me, if I ask you a question, most likely I know the answer to. So I never ask a person a question I don't know the answer to. I don't like set myself up to fail. So let's go here. We have up much. Shit, what? 13%? I was thinking what? But you know, it's not much, but it's in the green. So let's just see. But I mean, it's a lot of stuff that's going on politically, China and world trading and things of that nature that I just don't want to get to in my channel. Oh yeah, I'm a Republican, black Republican. You're the only Republican in my family besides. So me and my generations are Republicans. No, working on one. But let me see what I found on Honeywell here. Maybe I can just try to give you a synopsis of it right quick before the market opens. Okay, safe flying vision, virus killing robots, fever checked by cameras. Okay, Bloomberg. Honeywell International has been thinking about what it will take to coax people back onto the airplanes. A virus killing robot that can patrol empty aisles between flights, zapping out ultraviolet lights, makes a good start. The company has more in mind, temperature checking cameras that can also flag airports officials when a person area. I guess they left out a verb or a vowel. Wearing a face mask properly. It's my glasses. A system that spots overcrowded areas. The air quality sensors that consistently monitors for pathogens. We think these systems would be absolutely sufficient to get people back on the planes, said the chief of Honeywell Aerospace Unit. So this is why I went ahead and invested in Honeywell just because of that. But I'm gonna try to go to Bloomberg website today. It's on Bloomberg website. Bloomberg News. So we're gonna see if Bloomberg is gonna talk about Honeywell today. But I'm just telling you, if you have $200 or $150 extra somewhere, just go in and buy Honeywell. Like if you have $500. If you look at my portfolio, anything that's over 15% to 30%, I would suggest that you invest in it because my portfolio consists of new IPOs or new ETFs. Trust me. ONEM, I know that's a new IPO, but I think it's up 50% or 49% as of today. I just purchased Uber yesterday, and Uber is a fairly new IPO. I think it's only been on the market a little over a year and a half, so it's really fairly new. BJ, you all like BJ is like Sam's Club, Costco. So I jumped in and bought BJ yesterday. HIBL is a new ETF, just recently dropped. So when you come to my platform, just come to my platform knowing that you're going to get new IPOs, new information or fresh information that's just dropped, or I be looking for the hottest stocks that's really moving. And for me, like, I'm looking for my next Netflix or my next Google or my next fucking Tesla, you know. So I'm not gonna go in and buy Tesla when other companies out here have the same potential as these companies. You just have to find them. And one thing about it, these people names are not ringing in the news media like Tesla. These people names are not ringing. And when you find a silent company who can grow at the same magnitude as Tesla, them the type of companies I want to invest in, because I'm the type of person, if we do a business deal, I'm that shadow person. I'm not trying to be, I'm not with the limelight, the grandstanding. I like to be back in the cut because I like to watch everything go out. So yeah, that's me. So we have less than a minute before the market open. Let's just see what's gonna go on here.
It's time to get outside and make it amazing.
Well, I put Morena up there. As people know, that has something to do with the COVID-19 field. Me, I just don't believe the hype. I keep saying I'm not a conglomerate thinker. Honeywell, that's the fucking future. It's not a hype. Morena,
this is your season.
Personally, I invest in Morena, and I wasn't making a profit off of Morena. And like right now, like only thing driving Morena is the fact that only thing driving Morena is politics. That's all I can tell you. It's not doing it. See why people out here fighting about a COVID vaccine. Honeywell over here making futuristic shit for your ass to get back on that plane and get your ass on that bus. I'm not with you. Self-interest, baby. Remember that. That's the game in this shit. Y'all in this shit together. So the market is about to open less than 10 seconds. Here we go. Make sure you use these filters, dive in, do your research. I'm gonna do it today. I just want to see where we at. Sell. Everything popping up, looking in the green. Uber is down. Let's go. I'm just fulfilled the damn order. Alright, let me see what's going on over here, y'all. I was trying to put you up here so we can be on game together. Alright, so my first count, I'm down $3. I'm up with $3, $1. Let's see what's going on. ETF is down 8 cents. Brief is up 22 cents. Bean down 13 cents. Datadog 14 cents up. ETF 11 cents up. Gold ETF 15% up. GFL is up. You better make me some money, bro. LMPX is up 66 cents. Neighbors NBR is down 71 cents. That's a great investment as well. NBR, I think you should invest in that. I'm not getting into it right now, but Reynolds, what's going on, bro? I just bought some yesterday. Smile Direct, 5 cents down. West negative 5 cents today. SVGR, which is a new IPO, is 47 cents today. SPR, Spirit. I looked up about some Spirit. Spirit is up 26 cents. BCEL. Not this great job. BJ is up 29 cents. DKNG is down 2 cents. DKN, the ETF of DK is down 49 cents. HIBL, which is an ETF, is up 65 cents. Net, NET, new IPO, which is Cloudflare, is up 11 cents. NVMI, I'm not for sure why I'm holding this, but it's up 16 cents. One Life Healthcare, ONEM, which is a new IPO, is up 61 cents. Surface Oncology, which is SURF, is down 84 cents. My weed, 26. Uber, 65 cents down. What the fuck did my orders just get fulfilled? I only purchased 2 orders, and that was Honeywell and that was Aurora. Honeywell. Fuck. It sold Honeywell to me at 137.47. That one time about Honeywell. See, I put that in on a limit order, and I fucking love using those limit orders. Like, I really do. I'm probably not gonna get Aurora. Let's go here because I want to figure out what ACB. Oh shit, the market is in the red, y'all. Let's see. ACB. I purchased ACB at $15, so if ACB drops to $15, it's gonna cop it for me.
What's up? Been a minute since we kicked it. You've been caught up with them bitches. I don't get it. You're
Yeah.
for love. You shouldn't have to deal with that. I'd never make you feel like that. 'Cause I love me. I love me enough for the both of us.
My shit flag. I ain't got time for that, y'all.
That's why you trust me.
To keep your home up and running, the Home Depot has the appliance help you can count on. You can order online, see ratings and reviews, and get those appliances brought right to your door. Start summer with this Samsung refrigerator. TheHomeDepot.com. How doers get more done.
I gotta let y'all catch up with. I'm over here.
If you know me, know this ain't my first way. Certified everywhere, ain't got a print a resume. Take off, talk crazy, I pull up underlay. RP to Nate, dog, I had to regulate.
Hey, Tor, turn that beat down.
Shit, man.
Public service announcement. Where my rich niggas at, man? Where I real shit, man? Miko! Bro, niggas stand to the left, to the left.
Let's look at.
Niggas stand to the right.
I'm finna research KMDA.
Looking at me. I'ma knock the pussy out like white night. Hit it with a left, hit it with a right. I'ma knock the pussy out like white night. Hit it with the left, hit it with the right.
Here's these props on. I'm telling y'all, this do something to my dopamines in my brain. Like, I don't need no coke, I just need this. I had to regulate.
Rich nigga, I can never be a broke nigga. Broke niggas, I can never get along with them. Always been hated since a little nigga.
Okay, so KMDA deal with plasma. As plasma, so this is the market. It's actually the performance rate is approximately 47. Let me let y'all look at this. Knock it out like Debo. Now who's that talking that gangster shit? Somebody gon' kick your ass. When I walk up. Okay, so here's KMDA. Y'all gotta love Fidelity. This is one powerful ass tool. Seriously. Let me see. Let's look at the message. My rich niggas stand to the right. Lil' mama, she keep looking at me. I'ma knock the pussy out. I don't like that already. Earning 24 jumps in sales development program continuing progress. What are they developing? Manufacturing country operational like a bitch nigga, broke nigga, I don't deal with. All of my niggas official. I look up 132 million to 137 million. So they're looking at a 5 million profit growth for what? What is going to create y'all $5 million revenue? That's what I'm saying. Where's this revenue coming from? Total revenue was 33.3 million, increase of 24% year over year. Net income 5.2 million as
My rich nigga stand to the right. Little mama, she keep looking at me. I'ma knock the pussy out like fight night. Hit it with a left, hit it with a right. I'ma knock the pussy out like fight night. Hit it with the left, hit it with the right. I'ma knock the pussy out like fight night.
They gave Lil' try to 25 for them things, nigga. They walk up on your kid until your friends, nigga. They walk up on your kid till you see your friends, nigga. We been at the laundromat all day. We been washing money all day. I heard the police looking for me cause I got the hood hot. We been at the laundromat all day. We been washing money all day. Heard the police looking for me cause I got the hood. It got blood on that money and I still counting. They got blood on that money and I still counting. I
Okay.
can't help the way I'm raised
This
up.
shit ain't making sense.
Daddy's the pink, I
So
tried
if
to
y'all
give
want to
it up.
invest in,
I can't give it.
he just did the research.
28 grams, I serve it on the porch. I just seen them knocks, they ran off in my house. The homicide unit coming to the house. My cousin murdered nigga and he just got out. I hang with all the killers and the robbers. I pour me up some drinks and fuck my problems. My hood, they treat me like I'm El Chapo. I keep that dog food like I'm Rollo. I had the warrant and Clayco and beat the case. And I'm fresh as hell, bitch, Easter Day. All my ghetto tactics, I'm above average. I've been so in tune and I've been so ambitious. Grab another fountain, let me fill it up. If they ain't make the channel, you ain't built like us. The federal is fucking with my nigga tie. It's Black Amigo gang till a nigga die.
Been watching
I
games
feel
since
I'm
I
walking
started.
through here. I swear to God, I never tell. They try to give a nigga the check.
I'm not gonna do that.
I tell my mama wish me well. They got blood on that money and I still count it. They got blood on that money and I still count it. They got girl on that money and I still count it. They got boy on that money, watch my nigga count it. I know the devil is real, I know the devil is real. I take a dose of them pills and I get real low in the field. I fly to LA today and I live so high in the hills. I share a mansion with Goonies, I share a bit with a Goonie. I took the Mac on Bahama, niggas ain't sleeping with Garden. I took the pack out to Paris, me and that money got
Okay, I ain't seeing nothing over there right there.
Devoted and everything. My
Do I want to see what's on sale?
If I had deep inside the Chevy. Yeah, we tryna get it.
Well, Tesla ain't dropping enough though.
Yeah, fuck the witness. They got blood on that money and I still count it. They got blood on that money and I still count it.
Roku needs to drop support. I might just go in and make a bid for Roku, so if Roku ever drops to this amount, I'ma get it. Then I'ma tell y'all something. I was on Finish Market, I promise you I was gonna buy like 2 shares of Roku, $59, because I was in fucking market. Understand me. Listening to this man that's on I don't even want to call the motherfucking network out for his name. I ain't even trying to give him that fucking attention on my channel. But this dude called in talking about his Roku account, and you know, it was $59 and he had so many fucking shares and he's scared because Ruku's falling. His fucking response was to sell. And if this man listened to this man, he lost a lot of fucking money. And for him to say sell Roku, not understanding that it was finna be a true pandemic and people locked in, and hell, I just purchased Roku. So that's self-interest for me. So it's like I want to catch Roku at a specific number, and if it ever drops back to this number, I want to purchase Roku, because Roku can be up there with Netflix. You just like That's why I said don't listen to people. You drive your own damn crazy bus to this fucking rodeo show because that man, I feel like if I was gonna buy 2 shares, I'd have missed out on $100 profit on Roku just because I listened to him saying that Roku is gonna sink. Like, he felt like Netflix is gonna take off, which it did, but Roku also took off as well in its own domain. So you can't say it curtailed Netflix or nothing because Roku and Netflix is
While you
nothing
can't
alike.
believe everything on
Like
social
their
media these
software is
days, you
nothing alike.
can believe it's possible
Roku
to
is
start a
actually
new life
better
as
to
an
me because
IT pro in
I
as
pay
little
for
as
both.
4
Yeah,
months
damn it.
from the
So I
comfort
can
of your
speak
own
on it
home,
as myself.
even if you have zero computer experience. Instead of waiting to see what happens when life gets back to normal, take control of your future now. Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation today. Live online classes meet just twice a week. It's not rocket science. It's mycomputercareer.edu.
Speaking of this, I was messing with Pluralsight. I saw Pluralsight on Yahoo Finance, and Pluralsight has a phenomenal platform. It's like a school platform if you want to go. I think they gave the whole month of April for free, and I learned a lot about machine learning algorithms. I mean, I took a lot of courses on IT. I took a lot of notes. It was very informative. So it kind of helped me understand the algorithm of what's going on here. So, I mean, Pluralsight, you all should check that out. It's a great thing for education, for an educational resource too. Take it with you. I swear I'm stacking my money to spend it. On our Young Dolphin radio station. Oh, I need some wheat breads. Okay, so I need you guys to watch this shit. Oh shit. Some shit on sale here, but the energy sector is down today, you all.
Yeah, look, sex, I need some wet shit. Neck, I need some bacon. Yeah, I'm a little man, yeah. Kiss on your belly, yeah. She got that wet shit, yeah. She got that wet shit, yeah. She got that wet shit, she got that wet shit. Hey, girl, how you doing? Look, on double law. Girl, I'm a star. Just like the ceiling I got on my car. Just like the ceiling.
I really want to,
So I flew that bitch to New York. I put that bitch in New York, I put on Christian Dior, I pull up Bentley truck, I pull up.
let me show y'all what I'm interested in.
She knows she just like a drug. She come through and wake me up. She my little freak in the sky. Getting hit while I'm gripping her thighs. She in my head, don't need no
VILI.
She in the bed, we gon' need more time. She keep it wet, don't need no dry. Fuck me good, don't need no lies. Good, glad I tried. Don't bend over, you don't need no to ride. Love me forever, don't need no chain. Turn nigga down when you
see the performance here. It's nice.
I am not regular, they not a tussler. I'm with a better, ate her like an edible. I'm in the V12 eating vegetables. I'm in the back of the bill with my leg up. She got that.
Look at this girl. Like one thing about me when I look at things, let me draw. This is only within a year. So it jumped up in February. It's just let you know, see a constant growth here.
We can fuck in the back of my ride. On the balcony till the sun go down. I want you want me and my love. I want loyalty, then I want love. Wanna argue with me about trust. Girl, what would you be without us? She got it wet, soaking wet. Girl, let go
Yeah, I think this is gonna hit a 20%, over a 20% growth here. So I think it's gonna shoot past 36 because look at this growth. This is in 1 year. Reached 29%. So I think this growth is gonna be more than 29% here because everything is almost 20%. This growth is 21. This growth is 29. This growth has to be 25 to 30% here. It's inevitable not to be. Math just doesn't see. It has to rock it. And you all can see, like, Max, what's the so this is a fairly new IPO that just ding 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 ding. I don't have my damn horn. I be so engulfed in my damn research. Fuck the horn. So this dropped in March of 2018. It dropped that they didn't pay too much to have this damn IPO drop, but still, as you can tell, it's just been on a constant growth because it look what it dropped at, $9, y'all. So it's just been on a constant growth here. So I'm really thinking about jumping in, buying it at maybe 32 limit order.
Black leather glove, no sequins. Buckles on the jacket, it's elite shit. Nike crossbody got a piece in it. Gotta dance, but it's really on some street shit. I'ma show you how to get it. It go right foot up, left foot slide, left foot up, right foot slide. Basically, I'm saying either way, we bout to slide. Hey, can't let this one slide. Hey. Don't you wanna dance with me? No, I could dance like Michael Jackson. I could get it the passion. It's a thriller in the trap. Where we from? Baby, don't you wanna dance with me? No.
My shit. Let's see what's going on. Shit.
A love letter came through the mail. It said I miss you. I ripped it up and flushed with the tissue. Try to forget you. I ain't got nothing against you. We human, we all got issues. But I'm tired of being tired. That part of me done died. I see it, then I don't act like I'm blind. I'm confident it won't be one of mine.
Have y'all tired of being tired? You better do something with yourself. Spend your money because he did.
Jumping up on stages, I get 200 occasions. But I ain't really for the game. Or we make niggas shut they trap down. They see how
you gotta get little baby his profit. This dude, he is a goat. Like, I don't want to say a goat, but this dude, knowing his history and where he came from and where he at now, don't ever let nobody tell y'all kids special. Put your kids in fucking special ed. It's just they're just gifted. And coming from Georgia, one thing about me, let me tell y'all something. Georgia tried to put my son in special education. My son had to take an IQ test. When he took that IQ test, he came back with the highest IQ in the school. And they said, ma'am, if your son had to graduate today, he'll graduate as the valedictorian. There's no way we can put him in special education. ADHD is a motherfucker. I had to take my kids to the library and I taught them my way. And then after that happened, the educational system told me I'm teaching my kids off the academic level, so I need to stop taking my children to the library and I need to focus on their academic level. No, I had to do what was in the best interest of my son and what grasped his attention, because apparently y'all academic level is not up to par to where these kids level to be, and then your son or daughter is classified as fucking fucking ADHD, special education. Your child don't need no damn special education. Just need a library and a fucking book to grasp their attention. Yeah, my son wrote on there, on that IQ test, he wanted to know why white people killed all the Indians and why white people felt slavery was necessary. My son was 6. No, he wasn't. He wasn't 6. I'm lying. I think he was under 10 years old when that happened. He was not a teenager. And my son was born, I guess. I don't want to say born with no fucking ADHD. The Similac is fucking up y'all kids. Trust me. But this boy's gifted. I swear, this man is gifted. I'm old school shit. I don't even listen to the young people, but him and NBA, he's so gifted. They poets. And I love poetry. I love William Faulkner. Oh, the reason why I love William Faulkner, you have to read William Faulkner in order to understand the world. In order to understand the wealth of the world, you first must have to understand a place like Mississippi. Mississippi created the wealth of the world.
Shit, listening to the president talking about the Chinese flu, and just like everybody else, nigga, I've been quarantining with my biscotti, lemon tree, and promethazine. I know my garbage man sick of seeing empty paint bottles. FaceTime every day with my sister, auntie, and mama. Love y'all. Fuck it,
I go live now, every one day, go y'all crunk.
Last night I was up 4 in the morning, oil in my chopper. Fuck, I needed some time off anyway, so it ain't no problem. Fuck it, independent, so I'ma eat anyway, regardless. Trey happy as fuck, cause daddy been home every day. Aria happy as fuck, cause daddy home, she get her way. Called my nigga and told him, man, I'm spend $6 million on stocks. He said, when? Hell yeah, nigga, me too, cause that's how we rock. My president is Trump, and my Lambo blue. This $350,000 Sonic is too. I'm enjoying this time right now, so I don't give a fuck. I heard Trump about to take us to war, so I went and bought 2 army trucks. God, please watch over the nurses and doctors on the front line. God, please. I can't wait till the clouds gone and we get sunshine. Real life shit, nigga, fuck a punchline. Fuck all that. Got my guala 24/7, not sometime. That's why I never signed a deal, nigga, not one time. Hey, Squeaky, stop all the instruments and keep the drum line. Hold up. Busy working all my life, gave the family no time. Sorry, y'all. I apologize to the whole family just for being selfish. I love y'all. But the whole time I was focused on making the family wealthy. I love y'all. Wasn't shit you could tell me.
Swallow.
Stack that paper, invest in yourself for times like this. Straight up out the mud and now I shine like this. All the real niggas, they gon' twist and slide to this. I'm enjoying this time right now, so I don't give a fuck. I heard Trump about to take us to war, so I went and bought 2 army trucks. God, please watch over the nurses and doctors on the front line. God, please. I can't wait till the clouds gone and we get sunshine. My president is Trump and my Lambo blue. This $350,000 Sonic is too.
Reynolds, I'm going against the grain because you, bro. It's just because I use you and you is in my self-interest, but sometimes your self-interest is not the best, but I can deal with you because you 88% negative. But Reynolds, come on, man. You got to do better. I got to talk to you.
I got one girl from Philly, I think her name Nikki, and I fuck with Nikki cause she not too picky and she not too choosy, but sometimes she bougie. I play with a kitty until it gets sticky. I'm moving the bit, chill like an alien. Chop with the 50, my Uzi is ready. I told you the boss, can't deal with no middleman. Anthony Davis, don't deal with the belly. Straight out the mud, we got that work to turn you to the ground. You smell like a smell, you can hear when you slug. I say I feel.
Yeah, I can't do that because I don't know what he's talking about. I can't relate to that shit.
Huh? Why y'all gotta be mad at me? Top down, shirt open cause I'm hot now. 100K for the smile. Quit the hating when we come from. And they hope that we gon' stop. The only way is up where we go. We don't get enough though, no.
Had to run that bitch back. I swear, once they see what nigga come from, that nigga shit they had to go through, bro. Man, I understand. That's a dog for me, understand. Young nigga from the bottom of the map came up right with his scrap, iron in his lap. One false move, get whack. Got the whole hood on his back and then just like that. For my niggas trapped in the trap, pray to God we all make it back. Pray we all make it back. Gotta pray we all make it back. And I know it's wrong that I rap with a street nigga first.
See y'all, like if you get jumped in the game with 10 grand and buy more shares of ONEM, look, I'm already 57% in profit on return on this. So just imagine if you had 100 shares of this shit. My money ain't long like this, so I do what I can do. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I'm drinking my caffeine. Yeah, I know I gotta have my caffeine, nicotine plus Mary. I have me and Mary have. So, I'm just saying, like some of you all, like I ain't got long money like that. So I took what I can or a certain percentage from my savings and then invested. And this is what I can afford to invest. I didn't flip 1,200 to down there 2,000, so I'm not worried about the fucking rest. So I mean, and I done took 1,200 and flipped it to 2,000 within fucking less than 2 months, like 6 weeks. So you can't tell me there's not potential growth out here. Like I just sell, and I may sell today. I'm not for sure. I only purchased Honeywell because I may just go back and purchase some more motherfucking shares of Honeywell or sell some shit on my account and go back and purchase some shit that I should have bought Honeywell. Some told me to purchase Honeywell at 137. And see, y'all to hear me argue with myself a lot because I went against the grain, and myself told me to buy it at $137. I'm like, ain't no way in the hell it's finna drop back to 137. So I put in what it closed for. I should have put in 137 because then it would have copped it at 137. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes y'all just have to listen to your intuition. And me, I was just like, nah, Honeywell ain't gonna drive me. See, when the spirit talks to you, you listen. I'm telling you, this is what you get for being disobedient. You should have listened. But spirit, yeah, I can't do it.
Never see light.
Trey made this.
Cold world, no cold, no, 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 no. Heartbreak, no, I say too much pain. When will it go? I'm staying strong.
What's going on with ACB?
I look back like now who done raised they tone.
So if ACB dropped down to $15, and it seems like they halted trade on ACB. Let's look at ACB. I think they done halted trade on ACB.
I pull that Maybach out the garage and ride. How the fuck you take that criticism? I know you tired. You ain't got no time to be dating no more that same shit. I invited you, I don't give a fuck about who you came with. My love for you, not for your family, I'm known to blank shit. My trust for you been oh so damaged with my paint when I say big brother, dump nigga, why you leave? I been buying them forms back to back, these niggas can't keep up. Tryna keep my mind from out the past, I'm smoking on reefer. Still things I'm learning, I'm trying to see how I'm gonna keep up.
Oh, y'all don't see this. It says Insure ACB failed to meet NASDAQ continued listing requirements. What the fuck? Let me go cancel my order right here because I don't know what that means. Don't sound good.
I pull that Maybach out the garage and ride. How the fuck you take that criticism? I know you tired. The motor hit the E-way, do the
how much am I losing? Girl, go back. Okay, y'all. For some reason, I don't know if I'm in panic mode or just like fucking conscious mode. It's just like fuck it. But let me show you what I did today. So it's not committed here. So you see, I have $30 committed. I have $30 committed for ACB, but I'm not purchasing ACB until it drops to $15. But I'm not for sure what's going on with ACB right now. I don't know what. So I'm saying look up JP Morgan. So let me look up JP Morgan. I mean, so I'm just telling me to look at it. So here's me battling my fucking conscience again. Okay, so let me argue amongst myself, me versus me moment. That I'm always fucking losing apparently. It's 4.5, price 19 point, negative 19. So they pay out dividends on July. This is probably why it's telling me this, but this money you gotta pay. The PE is wonderful. The price is $89. I got my phone. Yeah, y'all crazy. 4 shares for $89 and fuck that. How about I put a number in for this bitch? When y'all send it to me at the number I put it in for. JP operates. Don't talk like this, Gilsbeard. Operates a service leading deposit cash management solution. Credit card payment. In front of the tribe, selling dope till the sun come down. Take a fuck, nigga, right. Well, Angela, take time out. Using me versus me moment. We ain't hesitating, bullies get the blazing. I'ma lay him down like he in a lounge. Walk him down, walk him down, walk him down, walk him down, walk him down. Oh, hell yeah, that's what you look for. This is what you look for. And I got red in my drink when I part soda. I remember praying that the feds never take the Motorola. Chopper got the chopper, make him do a backflip. Pay my dog down and walk him down. The racks, bitch. I've been drinking. They got no choice with it. Alright, Spirit, you won this battle. I was just about to do the race. Posted in front of the tribe, selling dope to the this doesn't matter. This is what my spirit said because it told me to invest in it, so I gotta do it. This company been in the game for so damn long. You wanna play it, then this bitch going down. We ain't hesitating, bullies get the blazing. I'ma lay him down like he in a lounge. This 140 is uncharted territory prices because that's a price that never been in what 135. So let me show y'all this thing. I'm telling you, my spirit just said JP Morgan. I'm like JP Morgan, fuck with JP Morgan, but okay. I'm telling y'all, it's I don't know who be telling me this shit. Yeah, JP Morgan got to reach new highs. JP Morgan, it went back 10 years. I don't think it. Let's see what the max is. Oh hell yeah. That's even better. Like it dropped in the 70s. Let me draw this. Okay, so what I'm doing is like a historical look at this shit. Wake up and hit it while you got your dong on, yeah. You So if a person in 1970 purchased JP Morgan, let's just say if my granddaddy or my granddaddy, your granddad back then, which some of y'all granddaddies have, purchased JP Morgan in the fucking 70s, they had a 600, like, JP Morgan ain't never had a huge dip until the coronavirus affected this shit. Even with the stock market crashes with the financial system in 2010 right here, where we had to bail out the banks right here, that shit still wasn't affected that much. And then it climbed out of it. Only thing about this, you all, it's just a slow fucking growth. So if I buy JP Morgan, boogie in your nightmares. Yeah, okay, I used to bust jugs with my right hand. Yeah, okay, I used to bag it up with my left hand. To this day, I never read the Bible, so I might say, yeah, okay, yeah, that's boogie in your nightmare. I ain't wanna be a player, never do it right. Yeah, I just hope my daughter never meet a nigga like me. Cause I swear I already know that nigga's grimy. Yeah, that's how I felt, nigga. I fucked a lot of niggas, bitches, and they still with her. And all the niggas that's they was distance slow niggas. One share. We're gonna do a limit order. I'm not buying this shit. I should say $88. This is your my spirit. Hey, this is a spirit bet. I'm saying $88. All of my passcodes, I was an asshole. I made up time for bought a Louis Vuitton, Chanel and Tom Ford, yeah. But you say you want dog love, but this ain't no fucking dog song, yeah, yeah. Pretty when you cry, pulling on your penny strings, put them to the side, wake up, hit it while you still got your dog on, yeah, nah. You say you want dog love, you don't even kiss me when we make love, yeah, yeah. You say that I'm a dog, I'm not selling Brink. Brink is a long-term investment for me. Not that, oh, thank you, dog. Thank you, DDOG. I hope you say this way.
Admit it. You're ready to tap that banner, take the quiz, and find out which decade best matches your teenage self. But before you tap, we'll tell you why we made the quiz. At Post-it Brand, we're celebrating 40 years of thinking loud. So the quiz features some of the biggest, boldest, generation-defining ideas that may have come to life on a little, colorful Post-it note. Tap now to take the quiz and enjoy your specially curated mixtape.
First time in a long time, hurting deeply inside. All right. Came with a large low man, extra clip in it, nigga. I ain't got no aim. Market closed on Monday. And I stay with the cash like an XO chain. 5,500, nigga, that's your rain. When I go to the club, make a storm hurricane. Nigga pull up, think he G.I. Joe, man. 762, turn him G.I. Jane. That Rico and Boot, they be knee high, man. Now when I look down, you know I can't see my aim. Man, she asked for some racks, gave her 3 times 10. Put her right in the condo, put her in the bin. And I did all of that, no one see her again. And honestly, on the better thing. They need these groupies, they peons, man. King of my city like Leon, man. Head of these niggas by Eon, man. She let me touch for the free iron, man. So you know that's a must like Elon, man. So I gotta go find something to make up for this right here. So I'm really trying to figure out how to balance out my portfolio. This is down $10 today. I need to go find $10 and put on my account to balance it out. Like, I'm not trying to sell shit on my account, I guess. Like, I'm trying to see, like, what's expendable for me right now, but racks. That's all in my Louis V jeans, double stuff. Yes. I'm turned to the max, these little itty bitty niggas know it's up. Chopstick came with a large low man, as he clipping it, nigga, I ain't got no ass. That bomb ain't pack feel fresh.
Even my watch list is, I mean, the market is red. Look at this shit.
Make a storm hurricane. The nigga pull up, think he G.I. Joe, man. 762 turning G.I. Saints up, uppity. Moonwalking all on the money. When I moonwalk, my diamonds still sunny. When I moonwalk, I don't you know 20s. When it comes to the drip, not in front of me. When Balenciaga on my jacket, my shirt, and my pants, and my socks, and my undies. Yeah. Wow. I'm too litty, y'all. Bitch like Chinese kitty. 942 in my section, no rim. Let's go. 2JT out the city. I can make a hoe get way too sticky. Yeah, way too sticky. Well, hold up, don't you got a whole situation? Live my life too risky. How you doing? Say I'm doing good. I put up in the fire, let's race. Yes, I stay with some money on me. Only thing in my pocket, big fish. It's amazing to me how my baby pull up with a fat ass and a skinny waist. It's amazing to me how I spend all this money and I ain't even going my set. It's amazing to me how these niggas don't know me but still find a way just to hate. It's amazing to me how back then she ain't want me but now she want go on a date. It's amazing to me how she asked for them racks, told that girl get the fuck out my face. It's amazing to me how I'm eating so much and I still didn't gain no weight. Chopstick came with a large low man, as he clipping it, nigga, I ain't got no ass. That bomb ain't pack feel fresh romaine, and I stay with the cash like an SO chain. 5500 nigga, that's your range. When I came to the club, make a storm hurricane. The nigga pull up, think
I don't know, this might be a sale day for some people. I don't know how y'all finna move this shit. I'm just peace be still, cause whatever the fuck I lose, I'm just losing, cause I'm not gonna sell my shit and go back and buy. I'm not gonna fuck my portfolio like that. Like, but I undefeated my fucking self with Honeywell, yo. What the fuck is going on in the world, Lord? I'm gonna have to listen to some news and shit, 'cause they doing a little bit too much around here.
This is Kuz of the Los Angeles Lakers, and I've curated a very special At the Crib playlist featuring artists from Pop Smoke and Lil Uzi Vert to Gunna. So tap in now to listen.
Six nation straight put them on.
If I go broke like Jock, fuck with that dog like V. Not that rock, that pit. I mean down in my sock, can't hold my Glock. Reason I don't really like that shit. Young turn nigga can't wife no bitch. Excuse my French, don't like no bitch. Limo 10 on fat, my cars, yeah, I had it hurt. So my bitch broke bad, I ain't had her hurt. Yeah, that's us. Two-tone AP, yeah, I'm bust. Got to hear from her, ain't even wanna fuck. Why? Slut, bop. Nothing on me from sex, everything revive. Old nigga told him bro should dad. No, he ain't Kim, dog, he ain't even try. Still a bet my last room dice in the hood. Take who chain, no, a bitch not good. Probably in some fast with a Glock in the hood. Of course, I had to take a spell and walk on the wood. First turn nigga from the hood, they curious. Boy, inquired about 5 and jury.
I get the comments with number that's period. I got your B on one, put on the mirrors. First young nigga in the A2 land, run on 14 mil, started 14 grams. Dope boy Dickies and diamonds and Tim. You shouldn't play with that boy, he is not one of them.
Bro, I kept taking L's, finally got me an M. Still making double, I don't call when I spin. That's 550 2018. Gotta come 20 if you hopping in the Benz. Young turn nigga from the D to the A. I'm rocking with the Lions.
Yeah, I'm rocking with the Braves. Yeah, we pay.
Yeah, we pay.
I'ma turn it up a little more this time. Used to dream about getting out, got it on dry. I had a spot like a varsity. What do you have? You about 20, I front what you buy. I put on drip, I believe I can fly. Niggas know that I'm rich, but they know not to try. I had a show in Detroit and I started reviving. Spent 50 on all of the guys. All of these hoes in these stores make a mission. And plus I'ma tip them, they holding my size. Get in your car and just put on your flashes and follow the hearse and you say you gon' ride. Cause somebody gon' die if they fuck with us. Turn a 5 to a dime, that's a double up. Fuck around, rockin' church on my double cup. This shit that happen, I'm praying, I give it up. Take a stay with the wood, make them give it up. No, I ran through a meal every week off of weed. Bro, beat the truck, I can give me some street. Got it back in the pickup, I won't even leave. Run it up, fuck around, get it vetted. DT, keep a hot boy with me, I got love for DG. Chasing his papers since 12 or 13, running around in these streets, it was me and Marquise.
First turn nigga from the hood, they curious. Boy, inquired about 5 and jury.
I get the comments with number that's period. I got your B on one, put on the mirrors. First young nigga in the A2 land, run on 14 mil, started 14 grams. Dope boy Dickies and diamonds and Tim. You shouldn't play with that boy, he is not one of them.
Bro, I kept taking L's, finally got me an M. Still making double, I don't call when I spin. S550 2018. Gotta come 20 if you hoppin' in the Benz. Young turn nigga from the D to the A. I'm rockin' with the Lions.
Yeah, I'm rockin' with the Braves. Yeah, we pay.
Yeah, we pay. First turn nigga from the hood, they curious. 4 and cars, about 5 in jury.
I get the comments with number that's period. I got your B on one, put on the mirrors. First young nigga in the A2 land, run on 14 mil, started 14 grams. Dope boy, Dickies and diamonds and Tim. You shouldn't play with that boy, he is not one of them.
Bro, I kept taking L's, finally got me an M. Still making double on count when I spin. S550 2018. Gotta come 20 if you hoppin' in the Benz. Young turn nigga from the D to the A. I'm rockin' with the Lions.
Yeah, I'm rockin' with the Braves. Yeah, we pay.
Yeah, we pay.
Yes, please. Men greet men. All well. Stand. All 10. All well. I'm all the way in there. You heard me? I don't want to talk. Get on game. Divorce all of my wives, cancel all my soul ties. Countertops in the south side, letting the coke drive. I don't get upset, I ain't never ducking Rick. I'm a Muslim, yeah. Let me know when you won't bump your head. Wanna post or bump me for some bread? Tell him I ain't scared. Jump the Hellcat with no tent, working my Blackberry. T-shirt white, bitch bright, feel like I'm Jeff Perry. Swagging from the bike with hard pipe, and she say yes, Kevin. What I told you about that, get it right, and she say yes, daddy. Rumors in the city, I ain't worried about none of them. Mr. H with the fin, you could go fetch you a Benz. Bulletproof color supreme, necklace enforced it with bling. Truck hauler interstate, make the Honda touchdown with them bees. Roll it on glisten, ka-ding. Little, this shit was a dream. Bread when the eagle go in, jump in the whip and go straight. Come up from nothing, gold teeth in the gutter, this street. Caught up with cutters and cleats, thuggin', I'm something you need. My children loving my woman infatuated, pulling paper from out of that hole. Everything platinum at regular status, he tucking that pack and I'm throwing them loads. These women mean nothing, they stealing my energy from me, was spinning me out of control. Fucking with trash, I learned my lesson. 200K for a new perspective, got my attention, that ain't bad. Get out of line and I'm getting smashed. Tell me it's up and I'm on your ass. When I'm in the tank, I'm doing the dash. Keep your security round, you knowing you pussy, and I ain't not scared of nothing. I'ma control the threats, I shoulder press and turn on the pressure ugly. I made a lot of mistakes in life, but I'm up in rank, I'm growing from that. I gave a lot of you niggas some stripes, but I ain't alright, ain't going for that. I'm raising myself for the be a lit man, and he about to live in reality. We open with prayer and stick to the plan, and this is the only reality. Your moral compass is all you got. Life in general, cold sports. The higher ups gon' play polite, the system still do what they want. Cool to kick it, but always remember that you still a nigga when you go to court. Fit in that blender with plenty of course. Flim is my image, ain't get no award. Trying to be a better man, still I handle business like a gangster. I'ma always be gangster. I'ma always be gangster. Steady trying to be a better man, still I handle business like a gangster. I'ma always be gangster. I'ma always be gangster.
Yeah, I think my ADHD kicked in.
I'm the same nigga front of Heine House with your main herd just drugs. I'm the same nigga had Molo Mike underneath the wing off the bus. I just wanna see you come up, quarter beat.
Trying to get myself
I'm the same nigga flood the wild side with the Lord tabs in the mud. In the bottom standing outside, gates got the cool in the bud. Top jag coming all black. Him and Bell pull on me and Julio on Louisa Street for the pack. Hold up, let me take a nigga back. Before I graduated with them rats, the whole south side eating Willie Trey boat jumping out Camaros. That's when Big London had the lag. That's when Big Ed had the lag. Boo and L playing in the lag. We on Arizona in the lab. Big Yak and I've in the CTS with the spinners on them, that's a fact. I was uptown at the Easter Badge, white Stan Smiths with the tag. With the long dreads, polo collars with your bow shorts, letting them sag. With the red boxes with the white horses, all 4 pockets full of bags.
Hey, with all due respect,
come on, man.
Hey, that's me you trying to be, you heard me?
Hey,
I'm out here like that.
For real, dude.
Like that. Hey, come on, man. My little soldiers on it, man. I ain't worried about nothing.
Nothing.
Really nothing.
How you playing?
Okay, so I got JP Morgan at 88.
Admit it. You're ready to tap that banner, take the quiz, and find out which decade best matches your teenage self. But before you tap, we'll tell you why we made the quiz. At Post-it Brand, we're celebrating 40 years of thinking loud. So the quiz features some of the biggest, boldest, generation-defining ideas that may have come to life on a little, colorful Post-it note. Tap now to take the quiz and enjoy your specially curated mixtape.
I've been trying to have like a full damn day this week. I got shit to do today, and I just don't want to keep leaving my channel unattended, like running handling businesses and shit. But I mean, single parent.
Let's fade on the keys.
Gotta do what I gotta do. I gotta handle business today, so I'm gonna try to be here as long as I can. I tried to start back yesterday at 1 o'clock, but shit just got so intense on me yesterday. It wasn't a bad day yesterday. Let's get that understood. It was just she having
I don't understand myself. My sister say that she heard boom as they try bringing grandma and bake inside the living. I've been doing right, knowing you do right by your child. Oh God, I say I trust you, so long you bye-bye. Self-made warrior, I done slip on country biz and all. Got tears falling down, you can't tell behind the collect. If I stand, it's the wall. Even if I don't, we all fall. Black man, can you lend a hand? We loading up, taking back what's uncle died, breaking in the house. This shit so grimy. He gon' do that time to take your time. This shit so slimy. Inside the hospital bedroom, I guess what I mean. Inside the streets where I lay. Inside that building, I X. It's some street nigga fuss. This ain't no poetry. It's all I want. We leaving blood in the streets. If I die, we good night. My soul, my family should keep. I'm already burned. Someone please hold on. Now I like who I am. I don't like it one bit myself. They don't understand me. I don't understand myself. My sister say that she heard boom as they try bringing grandma back inside the living. I've been doing right, knowing you do right by your child. Oh God, I say I trust you, so long you bye-bye. I ain't in the skies, head in the skies. Plenty times I didn't cry. Plenty nights outside, steady slinging fire. Been my life for a while. I done been baptized, but still I don't know. Oh, we forgave for killing ones who tried. For murdering ones who murdered our brothers. You see God, those ones died. And she made me can't sleep at night. Wake up at 6 in the morning, black man on drink, I don't know why. I don't know the one I sleep on Saturday night. Know that that's a lie. But that's me. Give me a rush, say what's the hype. You got the drop, then what's the price? We gon' pop it here tonight. We gon' knock 'em off tonight.
Agilent Technologies is $5.
Chill out, man. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Ain't no safety. DA got that girl, don't make no mistake. Round after round, demonstrate. Pull it back in, ain't straight. You alone, you can be mine. Centerfold, do a double take. Bulletproof, never breaks. Ride up and down the interstate. You alone, you can be mine. Shooter, 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 shooter.
Okay, so A is up because of the earnings.
You can be mine. Shooter, 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 shooter. You alone, you can be mine. Shit, let me put a 30 in a
It's operated 3 segments: life science, applied markets, diagnostics, and genomedics. This offer liquid and gas components. Shit dealing with plasma, anything dealing with plasma today is actually up. I'm not for sure what's up with the plasma or what's going on with plasma, but anything dealing with the plasma sector, shit is up, and this shit is industrial, it's not health. It's as fuck. Well, A is life science, tools, and service. So life science, tools, and service. AI. I need to figure this. So I think on my next research thing, like I done found something that I'm not aware of. When I find shit like this, I gotta research this so that I can put some space in my brain for this shit, because I'm scanning my brain right now. There is no tab for life science, tools, and services. So I need to get familiar with this shit. This is a $400 billion capital under healthcare sector. So it is, but why does that say industrial? Oh, y'all, I'm doing so much research. I ain't even showing y'all. Let me show y'all. So, life science tools and services, healthcare sectors are including drug discoveries, development, production. Okay, it's making sense now. All right. So right now I'm just scanning the investments opportunities here. I'm trying to find something that I think if I wanted to invest in this sector, what would I invest in?
Keeping my composure, never sober, never choking, always smoking doja. Fuck them if they getting over, got a month like coat me cause the kid the coldest. I ain't changed, I stay the same and maintain it. Safe to say the kid getting older. Forever gang, I'm never switching over. Made a lane and niggas can't get over. I can't mess with rappers, they be bogus. Rather get a pack and keep it over. Big dripper stand up in the ocean.
Everybody trapping, none of these stocks though. That's a problem right there.
Shout out switches, sweet, they keep me rolling. But if we catch the op, we gotta smoke them. With Drake, like we OVO.
I don't care about
I got some rats and I want some more. Still got them pass in the hood, call it give and go. Keep a nigga, man, bitch in a figure four. Let me fuck when I want, I just come and go. Man, these rats getting too big for these skinny clothes. I might put me in M and some bitch or both. They little bro hit the stick and start getting low. I spent 500 rats on a Lambo and didn't even know how to make that motherfucker go. On my birthday, I just want
to hell no. AVTRPE is super fucking high. No way I invested in
I feel like a tourist. On the one from the bottom who sold out my pound on them pounds used to drive in the beard. Oh, he ain't up. I fuck with slides and I'm gonna bust. He can't put on that drip, he ain't one of us. How you riding the Benz in a Tonka truck? How you got everybody lit piping up? Oh, she bad with no swag, I can pipe her up. Make my last on no wife and her. Count the money up fast like I'm
Champions Oncology.
Keep the rulers, my niggas ain't scared of none. Ain't no rules, you got rats, you can get it done. On a light day, I keep me 100 buns. Making hit after hit, call me Barry Bun. For this Christmas, I bought everybody guns. Flossing choppers and effins for everyone. Take the roof out the call it up, feel the sun. My bro gon' see his about 5 times a month. Got this bitch out the collar, she suck it and swallow. I stick it and she feel it in a gut. We don't run from my problems, we stacking up guala and guala on try get it mega bucks. We done drip a little nigga, best watch your step. The top shelf, got 40 designer belts. OPF, look like the new BML. Think I'm deaf, got stones in my right and left. How you crank up the car, ain't no key in there. Just pull up, spin they block and get out of there. We gon' have a hard time finding what to wear. Treat the hoe like a tire, I keep a spell. Wanna strap because I'm war ready. Check the trust, I'm counting more fetty. Scott Dweller, Jubilee, and the present. 150 playing Richard Mille. I'ma melt the game until it's empty. Look, cause I spit that flame until it's empty. I am not a killer, but don't tempt me. Spending rate 5,000 to a 50.
Oh, he ain't up. I fuck with slides and I'm gonna bust. He can't put on that drip, he ain't one of us. How you riding the Benz in a Tonka truck? How you got everybody lit piping up? Oh, she bad with no swag, I can pipe her up. Make my last on no wife and her. Count the money up fast like I'm typing some. I'm the type to get active and never run.
Do a 10-year history on here and see what's going on in this 10-year history.
Okay, let's go, nigga.
I make it jump like crack in the 80s. Baby, these bitch ass niggas ain't crazy. Broke ass, that scalp go straight to my baby. I make my bitch talk to me when we fuck. Talk back. Big rocks on my wrist, I'm bust. Big Glock on my hip, I'm clutch. Let's go. Get lost on the bitch, ain't nuts. She say I look good, bitch, I been doing push-ups.
This company has a study growth.
But got 6 figures put up. Knock his head off his neck before he look up. 10 toes in their chest for a check, bitch, I stood up. What that mean? I stood up on their neck for a check. Now my head get them stressed in my bed. I get 300K for a show, bitch, I'm playing. Let's go. Tell them hoes get down, I spread, I don't got no handles. We be pulling up back to back, play, we gon' handle it. Working with Thor and Montana. Go to Brook and won't wait for the touch of me started. You know you gon' get it, shit counsel. Put that stick in your face, screaming out, okay, trade from the knuckle, back and wrist to Atlanta. Talk out this stop with them bands on them bitches. I be running my city, the police don't like us, they know we be stepping on shit. Put that blick on your brother, you feeling some way, make them high, tell them dig up the bitch. She 200, bet one how you living, little nigga, you know I be having this shit. Paranoid every day, I be feeling
Fidelity,
some way
you
when
can't
you bring
see
up
it.
the static and shit.
The Fidelity Active Trading, Fidelity Active Trader Pro. On here where it says news and research, it has a tab where it actually lets you listen to Bloomberg News. You just can't see it. So
I hit her from the back till we pass out. I could angle that hoe, put a leg in there, ankle lock, hope that bitch just tap out.
me and that dude is not on the same. I don't know what the fuck he be talking.
Beijing. Selena, I'm kind of wondering whether or not the news we've had out of the NPC today comes as something of a surprise. We've dropped the economic forecast. We've dropped peaceful from the reference to Taiwan. And we've got this new Hong Kong situation developing as well. Is this a group of people that feel that they have to project authority at the moment, that they have to project power as a result of what's been going on over the last few months?
Well, as you said, this is a highly choreographed event. The purpose of the NPC is partially to project strength and power to the domestic people as well as to the world. And what you're seeing this year is it's especially symbolic because it shows that China has successfully contained the virus outbreak. You see thousands of officials coming into Beijing for all of this power and $1 billion in those local spending bonds to boost infrastructure investment. You have a really big focus on employment as well as increasing that budget deficit to 3.6%, more than 3.6%. And we can touch on Hong Kong a bit more later, but the timing of that bill, the announcement that they plan to pass that bill, does come as a surprise that they are picking this particular moment to be so assertive and aggressive on this.
Now, Selena, these kinds of things tend to be planned for weeks and months in advance, including the statement, including any actions. Do we know if anything was added or subtracted recently, given the most recent developments between the US and China? For example, the foreign ministry tweeting yesterday was pretty unprecedented.
Vonnie, well, it's very hard to say, but when it comes to that GDP target, we had reported weeks before that China was considering dropping that target, giving that it's too much of a risk to keep a specific number there. If it's too high, it risks too much stimulus spending and increasing the debt load. If it's too low, it's an admission on the part of the Chinese government that they won't meet their own target of doubling GDP this decade. When it comes to U.S.-China relations, Premier Li Keqiang did mention that China is going to continue to uphold that Phase 1 trade deal, which does show a glimmer of hope that trade relations can be that one thin thread of cooperation between these two countries amid this rapid downward spiral in bilateral relations. But the big question there, Bonnie, is it even realistic for China to be able to reach that target of increasing $200 billion worth of purchases of U.S. goods over the next 2 years, given the current economic environment in the U.S. and China and around the world?
Just in terms of what this all means for the Chinese economy and kind of what stimulus the markets should expect. In previous crises, and certainly the great financial crisis, we did see China stepping in and providing significant stimulus, and that was a huge part in terms of driving the global economy back from the brink. Just in terms of size and scale here, what can we expect from China? What are analysts and economists saying about what they think will come in terms of that stimulus program?
Well, Guy, if you compare it to the wake of the global financial crisis, China is not going to provide that same stimulus bazooka. They've been very clear that they are not going to unleash that much stimulus because they don't want to run up the financial risks and the debt load. You are seeing this moderate stimulus, which was outlined by Premier Li Keqiang in terms of continuance of those special government bond purchases. They're continuing this prudent but strong monetary policy easing. So you have seen cuts in the loan prime rate and the monetary policy in increasing the M2 money supply. But the really, really big focus here is jobs and employment, because an increasingly important part of that Chinese communist rule and legitimacy is rising employment, rising wages. And according to BNP Paribas, about 130 million people in China were laid off or furloughed as a result of the pandemic. So this is very important to them, and they said that they want to increase jobs this year by 9 million, which is less than last year's 11 million target, but it's still quite substantial.
Yeah, absolutely. Phenomenal numbers always when it comes to China. Our thanks to Bloomberg's Selena data out. What did we learn about the global economy and where we're at
I'm
in
still
this
here. I'm
global
just having
recession,
like
essentially?
system issues, Eric.
Well, we know
I'm
at
trying
this
to
point that
fix
we
my
are
system
still
issue.
struggling, and that
Not for
the
sure
idea
why
that
it's
we would
looking
get a
like this
V-shaped,
online,
very
but I'm
quick
trying to
rebound
fix
is
it.
probably not going to happen. More evidence coming out of China because they have locked down more people as they're getting a sort of second wave. We've seen that in some other Southeast Asian countries as well. So that is something to keep in mind. The other aspect of it is that China has been one of the engines of growth for the world for a number of years now, and it's not going to be. They're going to have a terrible year this year. The Bloomberg consensus forecast for growth there is just 1.8% in 2020. Now, 2021, they're expected to grow 8%.
Mike, talking of buyers, as the US tries to sell more and more debts, China has traditionally been a reasonably substantial buyer of that debt. Is there a danger here that that could be put at risk? Everybody's trying to kind of manage their economies at the moment. Chinese are going down one route. They're not going to stimulate heavily. But the US is going down a completely different route. And it's going to need, therefore, a lot of buyers for that paper.
It's hard to know exactly what's going to happen, Guy. So far, we've seen enough uptake of U.S. paper that nobody's worried about it. The Chinese have primarily been buying over the years to keep the yuan stable to the dollar because they haven't pegged it. It's a band now rather than a strict peg, but they usually buy to try to keep the currency in line. They haven't been doing that for some time now. They buy small amounts, but the last report from the Treasury Department was a small decline from China. As long as they don't start selling off huge holdings, and people don't really expect them to because then they lose money, it shouldn't really make a difference. There should be enough buyers elsewhere in the world.
Michael, is COVID an opportunity for the US and China to see some warming of relations once again? I mean, if China, for example, develops a vaccine that's dependable before the US, clearly the US will need China's support, right?
Well, you're asking a question, Vonnie, that a lot of people are asking and answering sadly no at this point. It could be an opportunity, but the two sides don't seem to want to be working together. There are a number of geopolitical issues between the two that at this point seem to preclude that. The president and his Secretary of State, of course, very strong out against China these days, but that's in part because it's an election year in the U.S. The Chinese responding to that with nasty comments about both of them. So we'll see if the two sides could come together, but probably next year would be the first time you might see some kind of a reset. The danger, too, is if China doesn't follow through or can't follow through on its phase one trade commitments, then the U.S. administration might go after them even harder.
All right, Michael McKee, thank you so much for the context. Michael McKee is Bloomberg's international politics and economics correspondent. This is Bloomberg.
Yet another day of risk.
I'm not for sure why my system is blurry. If it doesn't straighten out on its own, I'm gonna have to shut it down. Then I'm trying to stay on longer, but I may have to shut it down and go handle my business and come back because I really want to know how the market is going to close today. Okay, so RKQ, I'm up 9%. BCO, I'm down 2%. BEAM, which is a little BDOG, which is a new IPO, I'm up 13%. DPSC, which is an ETF, I'm down 1%. G is in Gulf, Delta X-Ray, GDX, I'm up 4%. Gulf, Foxtrot Lima, GFL, I'm down 7%, excuse me. HON, Honeywell, I'm up 14%. I just purchased that. LMPX, I'm up 2%. NBR, I'm up 1%. REYN, I'm down 2%. And Reynolds is a new IPO. SDC is a new IPO, I'm up 15%.
Live from
SDGR,
New
I'm up
York, I'm Bonnie
40%,
Quinn
which
alongside
is a
Guy
new
Johnson in
IPO.
London. This is Bloomberg
SPR,
Markets.
I'm down 4%,
World
which is
market
good.
ETFs are trading lower with tensions rising between the US and China following Beijing's proposed security law for Hong Kong. Let's bring in James Seyfert now. He's our expert ETF analyst for Bloomberg Intelligence. James, there is one Hong Kong ETF. What's happening with it right now?
Yeah, so I mean, there's different ways to look at it. So the Chinese market is super fragmented, right? So there's different ways to slice and dice these stocks. Are they state-owned, ex-state-owned? Where are they domiciled? Mainland China or Hong Kong? Where are they traded? So all these things make it very difficult, and different ETFs have different exposure to those different types of products. So FXI holds stocks traded on Hong Kong, and that's down 2.3%. And also from iShares is EWH. Now that holds stocks that are domiciled in Hong Kong, and that's been hit the hardest. Those are down nearly 5% since yesterday.
James, let's switch gears. ETF prices have been going down and down and down, the cost of them. But Goldman Sachs has just launched their first set of core equity beta products in the United States. Walk me through the pricing of these.
Yeah, so core beta products, these are what most people tend to think about when they think ETFs. They're super cheap. They're cheap, efficient market beta exposure. And you slice them in different areas, U.S. equities, international, emerging markets, and Goldman just jumped into this sandbox, and that's a big deal. As far as pricing, they priced pretty far above where they expected. So they filed a few months ago. We expected them to price very cheaply. BNY Mellon also filed and launched just recently, and they have a couple of ETFs that are zero. And we expected Goldman to be down there, but they just basically decided they weren't going to go down there. Now, this area is dominated by Vanguard and BlackRock. 1 basis point change in fees can move billions of dollars, and that's just how the core wars have been fought. And Goldman basically decided we're not going to compete on price with this move.
Why do you think Goldman went that route, James? What's the strategy?
It is better, and I'm not for sure why.
Yeah, so we can't know
I'm not an
what the
IT
strategy is, but
That's
there
what
has
I'm
to
not.
be some sort of strategy here. These are products are completely redundant.
Gotta
There's at
figure
least
this
10
shit out.
ETFs that are very
Whatever.
similar to what's being offered, and they're just not worried about offering the cheapest product. What we think they're going to do is they're going to sell these as package portfolios to clients, and what other issuers have done is they follow this BYOA model of bring your own assets, where they bring assets from other products that there are with competing issuers and bring them to their own products being offered.
James, does Goldman's move on pricing sort of change the market? Does it cause ripples? Do others follow? How does this change the kind of pricing dynamic more broadly? As you say, this is dominated by some very big players who offer some very cheap products like Vanguard.
Yeah, so time will tell. But basically what this tells me is that Goldman has accepted that they're not going to compete with BlackRock and Vanguard on cheap beta products. So they're just going to offer them at more realistic pricing. There are other issuers out there. First Trust, for example, doesn't really try to compete on price. They offer products they think their clients are going to like, and they're very successful. But BYOA, as far as the BYOA model goes, or bringing your own assets, Goldman has $53 billion of their client assets in competing issuer ETF products. So even if they just move some of that money over, it should be successful. And again, these products aren't that expensive. If you look at them in the U.S., they're charging 7 basis points, where the average is 11 basis points. Emerging markets, they're charging 36, where the average is 34. So all these things just say, like, they're not super cheap, but they also didn't go extremely expensive either. It's just the sandbox they're playing in, where it looks relatively expensive.
Yeah, and relative to a couple of years ago, these are incredibly cheap prices. James, thank you very much indeed. Bloomberg ETF intelligence analyst James Seyfert joining us on the latest. Bonnie.
All right, it is time now for our stock of the hour. With that, here's Kaylee Lyons.
Is Deere, which is off the highs of the session, but still higher by about 1% after its first quarter results. If I could sum it up one way, it really just could have been a lot worse. Of course, Deere makes farm equipment. It's very sensitive to the global economy, but demand for agricultural machinery is actually proving to be a lot more resilient. Big surprise was the company reinstated its full year earnings guidance. It had pulled that earlier this year, but today saying a lot of the numbers aren't great. Deere expects its 2020 worldwide ag equipment sales to fall between 10 and 15% this year, with a 10% decline in the U.S. and Canada, which is its biggest money-making region. Plus, for construction and forestry equipment, which of course has been underperforming, they see a sales drop of between 30 and 40%. But despite all of that, our analysts here at Bloomberg Intelligence say that the very fact that Deere reinstated this guidance is a positive sign, and they think that it may actually be a little bit conservative given the strength we've seen this quarter. Now, another thing our analysts here are noting is how strong Deere's liquidity position is at this point. They've raised about $4.5 billion, plus with those capital expense and operating expense reductions that the company is making, it really has bolstered some optimism about its financial position. Executives on the call just moments ago said that Deere is well capitalized to get through this period of uncertainty. And on that uncertainty, one other thing we have to note, of course, when we think about manufacturing and production issues in the face of this virus is, are they actually operational? But Deere executives said on the call that all of its global facilities are running, just with a few operating at a limited capacity. And that is your stock of the hour. Guy.
Kelly, thank you very much indeed. Let's go from tractors to planes. Coming up next weekend, the coronavirus pandemic has the airline industry facing the worst crisis in its history. So I'm going to be hosting a special report with CEOs, policymakers, industry leaders weighing in on the future of flying. That's next Friday, 7 p.m. in New York. This is Bloomberg.
ETF.
Live from New York, I'm Bonnie Quinn alongside Guy Johnson in London. This is Bloomberg Markets. Time now for futures in focus. Oil retreating from the highest level in more than 2 months. This after China did not set a target for economic growth. Let's bring in Bob Iacchino to talk us through everything. He's Chief Market Strategist at Path Trading Partners, typically at the CME. not at the CME these days. Bob, we're firmly above $30 ever since, you know, Saudi Arabia and Russia and OPEC Plus sort of came to a new agreement. Are we there now for the foreseeable future? Because if something like China dispensing with economic growth forecasts doesn't knock it below 30, I mean, are we good?
Good morning, Bonnie. Yes, I believe we are. I think we're measurably higher for a reason, and part of that is because demand is coming back, as well as just the perennial drop that we've seen in rig counts here in the U.S., along with the commitments of production cuts that have exceeded expectations from OPEC, specifically Saudi Arabia. So I believe we're well on our way to 37, potentially even 40 in terms of WTI contract. Probably not much higher than that until we see concrete demand as opposed to expectation of demand.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the situation isn't getting any better, and now we have China piling on, you know, not giving an official forecast, but our own forecast at Bloomberg from the economists we surveyed is talking about literally a one handle for growth. I mean, can oil possibly hold on to anything near a $40 a barrel price at that rate of growth?
I don't believe it can hold on to a $40 price. And that, again, is why I'm looking at that price as myself saying we could possibly get there. China tends to place orders for crude oil, and they also tend to maintain those orders, even if they run into an economic slowdown. So you're likely looking at prices falling from 40, sticking above 30, though, simply because China will likely commit to the orders they've already placed and will likely place a next set of orders, whether those go in storage or not. We haven't seen a huge decline in how far we are in terms of storage above the 5-year average. That has to happen. Right now, we're about 10% above globally. But in the short term, I think you're going to see us holding the prices above 30, regardless of what happens in China.
Mm. Well, Bob, elsewhere in commodities, steel saw a shocking month in April. We've got copper down another 2% now. What's the outlook there, and what are you doing in terms of putting on trades?
Well, copper is a different story, simply because copper, it's actually a form of currency in China when they're active and when their GDP is up in those sort of 6 to 9% range we've become used to. Copper, I believe, does have more downside than crude oil, simply because it is so tied to China that even if they keep the flow of copper at the current level, it's likely to fall. Also, we've had copper mines closed in places like Peru, which is the largest miner of copper. Those were not necessarily given a date to reopen, but they will reopen. So the supply of copper is actually going to increase, not decrease, amidst the potential slowing of the purchases from China. So I think copper has downside.
And then steel, Bob, is there any commodity that interests you right now from a long position perspective?
Gold and silver, more gold than silver. I believe gold can probably rise 50% from where it is right now, simply because of the correlation to the expansion of the central bank's balance sheet across the globe, that perception of devaluation. I think gold's definitely got a tailwind.
All right, well, we're already at 1736.10, and that's down a little bit just in the last week. Our thanks to Bob Iattino, Chief Market Strategist at Path Trading Partners. Guy.
Bonnie, time for a quick Bloomberg Business Flash. Look at some of the biggest business stories in the news right now. Let's kick things off talking about what's happening in the computer sector. Dell is cutting costs to deal with a weakening global economy. It will quit making contributions to employees' 401k retirement plans. Dell's also frozen hiring, internal promotions and raises for the rest of the fiscal year. In a memo, Chief Operating Officer Jeff Clark cited the shrinking spending on information technology. Ford is throwing a lifeline, though, to the auto parts suppliers that it uses, facing that cash crunch. It's paying bills early to make sure that crucially needed parts keep flowing into its factories. The North American auto industry is restarting, of course, after that 2-month shutdown. And that is your Bloomberg Business Flash. What we got coming up for you? We're going to get back to the markets and get some analysis on what is happening with this China story. Daniel Morris, BNP Paribas Senior Investment Strategist, is going to be joining us to give his take on what is happening here. That's next. This is Bloomberg.
My name is Jens.
control.
From London, I'm Guy Johnson with Vonnie Quinn over in New York. We're now counting you down to the European close right here on Bloomberg Markets. European equities just above the flat line right now, gapping sharply first thing this morning on the back of what came out of China and Hong Kong. And we've seen the impact as well on what has happened with the Chinese equity story as well. The Hang Seng overnight down by 5.5%. But European equities now back to flat. We've got LME copper. Vonnie was just talking about that as well. We're down by over 2% there. And some pretty disappointing data coming out of the UK. But actually, the mix in terms of the sector story for equities here in Europe, actually reasonably positive. Coming in terms of some of the most beaten up stocks actually having the best day today. And most European markets have actually outperformed US markets this week. We're up kind of 4.5%, 5% for most markets, Vonnie.
Yeah, here in the US, we'll have to see how the next few hours go. Right now, we're down slightly for the S&P 500, about 0.4%, 29.35. But we had been inching higher this week. We were almost looking at 3,000 there for a while. Now, the yuan has been weakening offshore. It's at 715.08 right now. We'll see how that progresses next week. And the China-Hong Kong rhetoric, and particularly over the weekend, as Selena Wang says, it's obviously time for potential protests. But we'll see how that goes. The 10-year yield at 65 basis points, back into its cushion after a dire week of economic data. And crude oil at 32.68, down 3.6% there. So we really have had quite the week in markets. It's been pretty whippy. Today, Guy, honestly, most stocks are lower, but you have stocks that are getting upgrades or so forth, like Agilent Technologies doing pretty well. It, for example, is up 6%.
Yeah, to be honest, this week has been about kind of what's happening in China, Vonnie, and also the vaccine story. The vaccine story has been incredibly whippy for markets, but so has the China story, as the president in particular has kind of ramped up the tension into this big meeting Friday in Beijing. Those have been kind of the two competing factors. We've had a few earnings to throw into the mix, but generally that has been the story. We've kind of, on one hand, it's kind of the healthcare story, the kind of the hope and the expectation maybe that things start to get resolved, and actually we start to maybe see a vaccine coming through. And certainly we've seen Moderna and a whole load of other companies, AstraZeneca, being kind of pushed and pulled on that one. But also the China story, I think, absolutely front and center this Friday. And it is a Friday, and it is a long weekend in the UK and in the United States. Do you want to kind of carry risk through that weekend into Friday? As you say, I think the next kind of couple of hours in the States is going to be fascinating. Let's get a take on what is happening here, and in particular that tension that's growing between China and the United States. Let's bring in Daniel Morris from BNP to get his take on all of this. He is going to give us kind of his view. He is a global market strategist. Daniel, what do you make of this, and how does this sort of change your equation when it comes to looking at global markets? If China and the United States increasingly go hammer and tong at each other, that can't be good for this growth story that most people are starting to price in.
Well, on one hand, it's kind of pleasantly familiar. We're going back to the stuff that we were talking about a year or so ago before the pandemic hit. So it's a nice change of pace, actually. I think if we look at the lessons from those experiences, pretty much everything that, you know, from Trump's election, this has been an undercurrent theme that flares up and then fades.
Okay, so it appears that I'm going to have to shut this down. I'll probably resume within an hour or so. I've been trying to fix this for the past 30 minutes or so, and it has not resolved. So I'm not an IT person. So I think the only way that it'll work if I shut down and restart it over. I'm not sure why it's blurry like this.
But at the same time, there are going to be real consequences. We've seen that all
like,
over the
share,
last couple of years. So on one hand,
let's see what's going
or
on
tweet
prior
something, and
before
the
I
markets
shut
very
down.
often overreact, and it turns out never to be quite as bad as they fear. But at the same time, you know, there are meaningful differences between this situation today and when Trump came in the office. So I think the challenge for us as investors
eating the
then
fuck
is
out of
to
my
separate how
bottom
much is
What
it
is
just
it?
a tweet storm, and then what are changes that are actually going to come into place. And I don't think that that's necessarily become any easier over the last couple of years.
One of the key
Oh, it's an
differences
ETF.
between the trade war and now, Daniel, is that it looks as if increasingly
Okay, so
the
please
US
like, share,
financial
and
markets
subscribe
are going to be
again.
a weapon
I'll
for the
probably be back
administration.
within
That access
by 1 o'clock
to
Central Time.
listings, we're going to talk about Bubba.
So I'm not for sure what's going on with my system. So I see you soon.